All right. We are here in Lock-in Buffalo. This is your one-stop shop for all real estate development and all the headlines going on in the Buffalo market. We're going to do a deep dive way past the headlines and talk to folks that actually move the needle here in Western New York. And we have a great show in store today. So we have Will and Alex Severyn of Severyn Development. We're talking about development deals. We're talking about what they're doing here in Buffalo. We're going to talk about what they're doing in Cleveland, Ohio as well. So welcome, Alex. Thanks. Welcome, Will.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Well, you guys get a lot of front row seats to, a lot of the development and real estate action that's going on here in Buffalo. And then as well, I like the fact that you guys have a unique perspective with you being in Cleveland and seeing some of the differences in the two markets. And I'd like to go into some of that stuff today. But, people may know, Severyn Development. They may know a lot of your projects. Maybe talk a little bit about yourselves, how you got into the businesses that you're involved in.
We started off graduating from Canisius College. We started buying and flipping single-family homes all over Western New York, arguably at a time when not very many people were interested in flipping homes. Mm-hmm. There were still multiple foreclosures, short sales, kind of the recovery from, the housing crisis that you and I were talking about prior to the podcast. There was a lot of opportunity to acquire low, renovate with great quality, and then resell. My father, being a broker at Hunt Real Estate, told us, hey, you guys got to start buying these things, flipping them. We had done home remodeling construction projects all the way through high school and college, and we bought our first home while in college, did a lot of the work ourselves, flipped it, made good money for two college kids, living off beer and pizza. By the time October rolled around, we were all equal equity partners. We were flipping about, at that time, probably 10 houses at a time, and it really rolled from there. So we did, throughout the Buffalo market, roughly around 150 homes. 150 flips. Yeah, we were constantly doing a lot of flips. And then as we looked to expand, we did go to Rochester. Mm-hmm. Very easy market for us to enter. Like I previously mentioned, my dad worked at Hunt Real Estate. Hunt had offices out in Rochester that was, that were interested in working with us to help us find properties and then list them for us on the back end. So, we were doing that in Buffalo and Rochester. And then probably around 2018, 2019, flipping became more mainstream. Yeah. A lot of people in Buffalo wanted to get into flipping. It was a good business. It became very HGTV to start flipping houses again. And we were seeing some increased competition. So, we were looking at, okay, we had success in Rochester. We were comfortable going there. Where else could I, hypothetically being the, acquisitions part of the business, where could I get to and get back from if I had to in a day? Yeah. So we said 3 hours, right? So we looked at Syracuse. We looked at Pittsburgh. We looked at Cleveland. And I've always loved Cleveland. Yeah. I always thought it was a nice city. And, we landed on it. It made a lot of sense to us geographically. Mm-hmm. The outer, the suburbs and some of the other markets are very similar to Buffalo. And then the housing construction, right? We got into a bunch of houses and we realized, okay, these houses are built the same. Yeah. So we had confidence that our construction numbers would be similar. And we started buying and flipping in Cleveland. So right around 2019, 2020, right before COVID, we actually started real estate equity funds where we raised private capital to buy and hold all of our single-family homes. Mm-hmm. So we were amassing a portfolio of single-family homes. At this time, I think we started off buying and holding with about 80 units, and that's been our strategy ever since. So our strategy is your classic BRR method: buy, renovate, refinance, lease, or whatever. Right. Rent. And
an R word. Come on.
I know. I said lease. I know.
Well, we lease a little differently. So
yeah, and we amassed that to a portfolio right now of about 500 doors. So we got 500 single family homes. I'd say of which about call it 100 or so are still here in Buffalo. Okay. And then the rest are all in Cleveland. So we've really expanded in Cleveland. We got to a point where we had so much concentration of units in Cleveland that I had moved out there, got licensed. And I run the Cleveland side of the business. But the oldest thing that, Will and I can sit here and say we've done is really buy and redevelop pre-existing single-family homes. We're on our 13th year doing that.
That's incredible. Now, is there a prototypical properties type that you're looking for?
Yeah. So we like first-tier suburbs. So I won't mention specific markets in Cleveland, but for people to be understand our market.
Yeah.
We own stuff in Lancaster, Cheektowaga, Amherst, West Seneca, Orchard Park, all like your first-tier family-oriented markets. We do like to focus on some better school districts because our tenant base typically likes to stay in our homes longer term. They're getting they may be potentially renting that home to get their kid into a specific school district.
Yeah.
So we're pretty adamant about school district. But every home that we like to acquire, we also want to make sure that it is possible to be sold at an affordable entry-level price. So what I mean by that is, there's people always ask me, what's your minimum, what's your max? Obviously, there's no minimum, but as far as a maximum price that we typically hold in our portfolio, we probably max out at right around 285 to 300 and down. And the reason we do that is because a lot of our tenants are using our single-family rentals as a stepping stone to home ownership.
Right.
And, we've created a program over the years to help them become homeowners in the home that they're renting.
Yeah.
Which landed us
That's
here.
incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
hold on. Before we get into that, too, and then just a little bit of a background. As we were, for Severyn Development, as we were amassing these single-family homes, every once in a while, they came with a, neighboring vacant lot here, there, and the other. And, we actually landed in 2013, 2014. We got a great deal on a house in Lancaster that came with a vacant lot on a neighboring cul-de-sac. And we're like, wow, this is a perfect place. Why don't we try our hand in new construction?
Yeah.
Right? And at that time, we probably had maybe 5 or 6 of these vacant lots all over the place. Before we would flip a house, if it came with a neighboring vacant lot, we'd parcel it and we'd kind of just put it on the shelf. So we kind of opened up the new construction side with, some of these ancillary, infill opportunities. And, the new construction side, a little bit of a shorter story, but, still worth telling. Built one custom house, lost our ass on it.
Sure.
The next house, I think I made $13,000. And then the third house we built, I think we finally we dialed it in.
That's not a bad learning curve.
I didn't think so.
I didn't think so.
I didn't think so. From house 1 to 3, you're probably talking about a year and a half.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't too much of a burn. But then,
You guys are GCing them.
We
correct?
GC them.
Okay.
Yeah. So, again, I'm also a licensed agent with Hunt Real Estate here locally. But we'll do everything. If someone's looking for a custom home, we'll start with them right away looking for a property. That's typically where we ask that they reach out to us. If you're trying to find a property, start with us there, because what you have in mind for a custom home starts with what can we get approved, on all these individual lots, and they're all a little bit different. But no, we'll help you find the lot. We have an interior design team. We will design a completely custom house. And then, of course, we do all the general contracting, on the flip side with a, great team of dedicated project managers. And we've went from, I would say an average, back in the day when we started, you could do an average 1,800 square foot, beautiful brand new ranch at $450. Today, that's like $825.
Yeah.
So, we've really seen it progress. But I do have to say, I think overall we're building a much, much better house. And again, we like doing just a few.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm busy with my brother. I'm very active in both sides of the company, but we just do a little bit. We just do a few. We like to do custom. We want to be custom, and we want to be a little exclusive that way. And
right.
We've been having a good time with it.
How many homes a year are you guys up to?
This year we'll start. This year we will start at least 14. We'll probably finish 12. But then going into next year, because our lead time is obviously long.
Yeah.
Right? But going into next year, we'll probably be about 20 houses a year. I think if we were at 20, 24 houses a year, we're good.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're built for, and that's kind of where we'd like to stay.
Yeah.
So, and that's single family stuff. And then because I'm a glutton for punishment, I get involved in a little bit of development as well.
So yeah, and that's I'd like to focus in on some of those projects you guys have been working on, like some of the infill deals and some of the things that you guys have done in the city.
Oh yeah,
like the Symphony Lane projects and things along that line. Maybe tell us a little bit more about that.
Oh yeah, so that was was a COVID stressed project, I guess you could call it.
Right.
But 4 row houses there. But there's a corner lot vacant. We got it subdivided on a new green code into 4 townhomes. So that was a little unique. We were kind of utilizing that code just as it was coming out.
What does that code allow you to do?
It was actually minimum square footage lots of 900 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
So you could subdivide properties as small as 900 square feet. So, we were taking what would be, a regular single family house lot, buying corners, and then changing the elevation and subdividing them the long way for some higher density. But, I would say most people, I don't even think know about this, but where we were really our most active, we built a bunch of duplexes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a tried and true method. We picked a little neighborhood around Canisius College.
Okay.
Alex was renovating a bunch of duplexes or single family houses. That we would flip or keep and rent. And then there were vacant lots in the neighborhood, so we kind of filled in the missing teeth. Kind of filled in all those properties. We built 26 apartments in individual duplex lots in a neighborhood no bigger than a football field.
Yeah, I did the same in North Buffalo.
There you go.
I got a duplex, and we had at the right time, 2015, before the big jump. And it penciled out, right? The deal really penciled out there. Still own it now.
I was going to say, you probably still own it. You probably
why would you?
Yeah. We're in real estate. You got to be long term.
You got to be.
You got to be a long term. I mean, and even what is promised, campaigned, I mean, we'll see. I check receipts.
Yeah, no doubt.
I don't,
Right. I mean, right now there's a lot of concerning conversation going on with the non-homestead tax increase, going up to roughly $15 per $1,000.
I saw something today that I think it was going to be something like $25 a month.
Well,
for an average house.
Yeah, I mean, I actually did on our Instagram account. We just did a little bit of a video penciling out actually what the math comes out to be, and for because I live in owning a home, so I have the homestead tax increase, which is going about $6 per $1,000 to like $8 and change per $1,000 at the 25% increase, and then for the non-homestead. You're looking at $12 where it currently is to maybe a little over $15. So for a $300,000 home, you're looking at $450+ annual tax increase.
Yeah.
And then for the rental, like because you own a double in North Buffalo, you're looking at $400,000 now, right?
Yeah. Easy.
You're looking at $1,200. It's a $1,200 a year tax increase that you're going to pass off to your tenants. It's $100. It's $100 a month.
Yeah,
and I think that's what is often missed.
Yeah,
is these costs get passed on.
Nobody wants to talk about that right now. Yeah. And I mean, if you're a property owner, you gotta make a profit, right? I mean that's where a lot of this conversation starts to kind of fall on deaf ears with a lot of the oversight and the regulatory environments, making it really putting a lot of disincentive for developers, property owners to want to continue to do work in the city.
Yeah.
Buffalo.
And that's the thing. I mean, like I said, over 7 years, we added 26 new housing units on what I always say is these are vacant lots.
Yeah. So there's 6,000 vacant lots the city's trying to sell now, and they're trying to put caps on who could buy them, and
that's probably the worst part of it. The city has to drive that plow across that lot.
Yeah.
No matter if there's a $450,000 duplex on it, or it collects $500 maybe in total tax for the entire year.
Right.
So I don't understand why they honestly would just not give these things away, add new property to the tax roll, put people back in the neighborhoods. Then the commercial spaces can start being rejuvenated. Right. I mean, I really don't understand what the lock is on those properties.
Yeah.
There has to be some ownership issue. There's a question that somebody can't solve yet.
Right.
Because unfortunately, they're not worth anything.
Yeah.
Give them away. Let somebody else try.
Yeah.
Because
you have those. You have those, and then you have countless zombie homes.
Yes.
All throughout the city. Again, just dwindling the tax base, and now you're going to make the argument to increase, the taxes on the people that actually
Everybody
have been
that
living
stays,
and staying in the city,
everybody that's trying to
which has dropped, right?
keep up their properties.
You're seeing a 1.1%
I
drop.
saw that.
That was shocking.
17,000 people, right?
Hottest real estate market in the country, right? And you're seeing a 17, it was 1.1%. So,
I do feel like the momentum kind of slowed down. And again,
we see a lot of pressure in the burbs.
Yeah.
I mean, being now an outsider, and leaving 2 years ago, Will and I lived downtown. Starting in like 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So
a lot of optimism.
It was great.
Oh, it was awesome.
It was great. It was the best city ever. Like I was all about.
It was our generation that built the restaurants and all the activity.
And they took all my money. Yeah, I mean, but no, I mean, but to that point, right? There was always something to do. There was always somewhere to spend some disposable income, whether it be a new restaurant, have it be an event. I mean, we lived right downtown. There would be, this kind of charity run or that walk or this 5K
or the
or
pedal bikes were like brand new.
Everything was coming out. And it made a big difference, right? I mean, there were nice, new apartments being offered on the market. Buildings were being renovated.
Yeah,
I think COVID, obviously crushed it.
Yeah,
and that just halted a lot of development in the city because you didn't have M&T Bank employees coming in every single day, having to buy coffee somewhere, having to buy lunch somewhere, pay for parking, and then grab a drink after work.
Right.
That whole crowd went away, and that crushed downtown. I mean, we saw, I tell Will all the time, we probably saw the best time in Buffalo in recent history, which would have been that time, call it from 2013 to 2020. Those 7 years, I think, is where the optimism started, projects started going.
Cranes were in the air again.
Yeah.
And the
now,
Buffalo Billion.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and now it's like, it's got to be very hard to make a project pencil.
Right.
And with increased property taxes, it's all a derivative of, NOI and what financials are going to make the project go. And there's a lot of, I don't think people always understand that there's multiple people involved in that decision. There's the owner, there's the investor, there's the bank, and all of them are trying to make sense of the numbers.
Right.
When your holding costs go up, it makes those numbers a lot harder to justify.
Totally. And look, I think if you look at it macro for the region, right, you look at the city, you look at the surrounding suburbs, the city's still advantageous from a tax perspective.
Yes.
Right. It still makes sense to live in the city. And I get the catch-22 that the administration's in that the city residents want increased services.
Yeah.
Right. You want, your streets to get plowed.
Better plan.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
Better facilities.
And obviously the previous administration was kicking the financial can down the road as long as they could.
I guess that's what we're hearing now, right?
Yeah.
Well, sure. Yeah. I mean, you're running at a deficit year after year after year. You haven't increased taxes in a meaningful way over the last, 15 or so years.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I get it. Eventually, that chicken's going to come home to roost. But, the question that I have, and I'd love to get your insights on it, is are the individuals that are actually deploying the capital that they're bringing in, deploying the revenue dollars that they're pulling in, are they going to utilize them the right way? I mean, you have individuals here that, haven't been able to really fill potholes properly.
Yeah.
Right? So what are they going to do to spur some positive growth?
Well, exactly. It needs to be utilized the right way.
Right.
I mean, again, in my opinion, the only way to lessen the burden on the homesteaders, right? The people that have said, no, you know what? I love the city. I'm staying in the city. I was one of them.
Yeah.
Okay. For as long as I possibly could be. All right.
I'm still holding out.
You're holding out. You're better than me. You're better than me. And we still own and manage a lot of property in the city. So, I mean, we're still big proponents. But the only way you're going to reward those people is allowing other people to come in and build next.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
You don't increase the burden on the people that are taking care of their lawn, picking up the streets, taking care of their neighbor. Let them have new neighbors. Literally give these properties away. We saw this down in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we'll start making some connections, right, down to what we kind of learned here and why we saw some, blue ocean opportunities down in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
There were areas of the city down there that that the planning boards got together and they identified as, hey, these streets are majority vacant. A lot of demolition, similar to a lot of the areas that we have, right?
Yeah.
And they said, listen, if a individual comes here and builds a home, we will keep the tax cost, the property tax, at the same assessment as the vacant land for 10 years.
Wow.
So you're looking at properties that are like $542 a year. You could build a brand new house on it.
Yeah.
You're going to pay $542 a year for 10 years. If you sell that house, same thing. Whatever. If
It
you have
passes to the new homeowner?
If you have 3 years left, passes. It carries with the property.
That's
and then
huge.
it was actually so successful. They did it for 10 years in a certain circle and 15 years, getting further into this area that they really needed to redevelop. And you drive down there, there's new houses.
Right.
That's the only.
Well,
I mean,
we're sitting in an environment where we have. Yeah. I mean, look, I think it's a brilliant observation. It's a brilliant program for the municipality to.
I don't want to get
deploy.
in trouble, but we got a copy of that program, and I sent it to the city.
You did?
We did.
Like,
who do you send it to? We got.
I'm not gonna lay that.
We got to get some follow up on that.
Let's just say he could do something about it now if he wanted to.
Yeah.
All right. So,
well, look. I mean, look. There's clearly
documents.
There's a lot of back and forth going on between the mayor's office, the common council right now, and it'll be interesting to see if the common council still retains any authority after this resolution that was inserted into the budget.
Oh, I'm not familiar with that, so.
It just came out today.
I was going to say
that basically the mayor's office is trying to strip the common council of any checks and balances and any authority that they have. So it's a very Albany type move going on in local government. Well, that's the intent, right? Is supposedly to make decisions actually come to implementation in a smoother process.
I'm a fan of that.
Yeah, right.
Well,
right.
I mean, I think to speak.
I haven't read it yet.
But to speak to Will's point, I mean, the reason why we were able to develop 26 units in a neighborhood was because nothing we did needed major public approval.
Yeah.
Right? It was, we're building a house here. There was a duplex. We're building a duplex.
Yeah.
Or we bought this house. We're going to renovate it. There was no bureaucratic, red tape.
Yeah.
So we turned 26 units very quietly, very efficiently, changed the whole unit, the whole neighborhood. If we were to go to the city of Buffalo and say, we want to build a 26 unit building, we'd still be in approvals, right?
Yeah, we'd be stuck.
Right. And we're already done.
And explain, because you guys have a unique perspective on it. Like, who are you dealing with? What administrative bureaucratic bodies?
You can speak to who we work with once it starts, but I mean,
what organizations really do you have to cut through?
That would be planning board.
Yep.
So I mean, everything starts ZBA. Okay. If you have a project with the as of right, you're building an intended use. It's a simple application. Those guys are great. Move right through ZBA. Then you get to permitting, needs to refer you to planning board. Planning board then is now you're subject to public comments.
Yeah.
That takes a long time. Okay. Unfortunately, too, it's the court of public opinion. It's not what everybody voted on for the building code. It's what are the neighbors like? So again, that process right then and there, you are required to host public hearings. You gotta take their feedback. You gotta incorporate it into your plan. A lot of times what happens with that is these projects get so far away from you that they're no longer financially feasible.
Yeah.
But again, as a developer, I bought a property, right, where as of right, I could design X. I don't need a variance. I don't need anything special.
Yeah.
But then I take it to the public and it's all everyone adds their 2 cents. Well, pretty soon I can't afford it. But it's like, well, wait a minute.
What feedback do you have to take into account?
You got to make.
You're talking about individuals that really have no understanding. I mean, everybody wants everything, right? If
they'll come to your meeting though, and they'll tell you exactly what they think. And if the board's not willing to pass it because there's enough neighborhood pushback, they tell you go back, talk to the neighbors.
Yeah,
come back with another project. Most times, it's the community feedback that's leading the project. And again, I believe the community should have a say.
Sure.
Okay, we actually, for a project we invited all the neighbors, and they said, the way we currently had the project, we didn't compliment the neighborhood. I said, okay. I said, well, hold on, it's a beautiful day. Everybody come out. We invited everybody to the property. We literally did a walkabout.
Yeah.
We're like, let's go through the neighborhood. You love this neighborhood. I love this neighborhood. I wouldn't have invested in this neighborhood if I didn't. But can you point out what you want us to incorporate? And it was a very nice, conversation. It wasn't us, in front of a podium,
Yeah.
you know, with a dry erase board and, you know, and a bunch of boards waiting for us to screw up. No, no, no. This is, let's just talk. Let's just, you know, and what was nice is with Alex and I, we know what these things cost.
Yeah.
We could go back and we could say, listen, yes, I know what, I also love that detail on the building, but it's not feasible yet. But we actually went back to the drawing board. We did it. And we said, well, we can incorporate some of these elements. As soon as we did that walkabout, we had to go value engineer a few things, but we went back to the planning department and we were in. We were passed. And the neighbors were like, that was such a nice experience.
Sure.
Okay, but the neighbors also have to understand that too. You know, they need to understand, okay, well, hold on. You know, there does need to be a return on investment. Otherwise, there is no investment.
Yeah.
You
There's
don't
no
get
incentive.
to I unless you do R and O.
Right. Right.
Like you have to, it has to be, you know, it has to make sense. Otherwise, there's no reason for anybody to do it.
Well, that's what I'd love this platform to ultimately be. I mean, this is the first time we're even filming this podcast in the studio, but I think having some real honest back and forth about what that process looks like, what the conversation really results into, and maybe give people a little bit of a better understanding of the perspective of, quite frankly, the vilified developer.
Yes.
Right, and you guys are.
Well, that's me.
Right.
Separate development.
Right. Right, but it's unfortunate because the developers are the really the individuals or the groups of individuals that are driving the city into, you know, the future that we all want to enjoy.
Correct.
Right, and if you're taking away incentive from those individuals or for those groups to actually want to invest or bring investment into this community, then we're really just stifling ourselves.
You're gonna get a bunch of vacant lots, and you're gonna get a bunch of people that love the city paying the bill.
And sadly, the community's then going to drive those individuals out of town, which what we're seeing right now. I mean, you look at the headlines, you're seeing guys like Doug Jamal that was, you know, for whatever reason, you flew into town on what was it? Was it an accident? You know, you had a layover in Buffalo and he fell in love. Yeah. You know, and you're like, wow, you know, this guy's taken a lot of these eyesore, you know, buildings like the Statler and taking on all these projects. Like, okay, maybe this guy's going to be the cowboy everybody wanted to turn these things around. And now he's just
for a long time he was, though.
Driven out of town.
Well, you know what? And again, that's I don't know anything. I don't know everything about that, but what I can collect is that when the town said, "Here are the keys to the city, fix it," he's all in. As soon as that changed, and we're back through the red tape, it's that is the speed bump to progress. You can't afford to fight. You can't afford it. You can't afford to fight.
Why do you think this town has that unfortunate reality? Where, you know, you're in a market that what's driving that? Like, what's driving all that red tape?
What's driving the red tape?
I don't think people want change.
I mean, you know, they call it NIMBYism, right? Not my backyard. You know, I think people who live in the city, like yourself, you're naturally proud of the city. You do have an opinion on what gets built. But I think people underestimate the positive effects of any new construction.
Yeah.
I mean, any new people coming to the market, any new disposable income being spent at the local bars and restaurants.
Right.
It makes a difference.
I don't think that the full, you know, financial benefit of bringing more people in, I think that's lost on people. You know? I don't think they understand how beneficial it is, and that all of the growth and drive in the city of Buffalo was based on people like ourselves, right? You know, when we were kids, we never went to the city. Maybe we went to Bison's baseball game, and then we hightailed out of there back to the suburbs.
Right.
You know, when our generation was in college, getting older, going to the bars, we're quote unquote millennials, right? We're a big population base.
We're snapping up apartments.
We were the ones interested in the apartments. We're the one interested in the new, in the new restaurants. And what's a shame, you know, what's essentially a shame that happened in Buffalo couldn't lock us in, right? There was no option for long-term housing generated for our demographic of people before we got too old.
Yeah.
Like if there was, like, I know where you live, right? You've got a nice new build home up in North Buffalo.
Yeah.
If there were more of those, more people like us would stay. But the city didn't offer the next step for our generation fast enough to keep us in the city.
Yeah.
Which is why we're all going back to the suburbs now, right? Right. If we're getting married, having kids, what have you,
and we
want the yard and the neighborhood.
And our generation gave them plenty of time. I mean,
Yeah.
we waited for a long time. I rented way too long. I rented a long time.
Yeah.
Well, and
For
people,
a guy who owns a lot of houses, I rented for a really long time.
Well, I was there too, right? I mean, I was there too. I had rented until 2015. I moved back in 2008 and was really renting for pound power, right? Until I found something. Unfortunately, and it's a story maybe for another episode. I had a rat infestation in the building I was in that forced my hand to buy in 2015. And thank God I did, because I have this double that now I continue to own. But it took a while for that Rachel Vincent Way project to come to fruition, and I did not build there.
You bought,
I did not build,
second, right?
But I bought a home built in 2020, and but I mean it's an incredible neighborhood. You get all the best assets. You get to take advantage of the great assets of living in a walkable community like North Buffalo, right off of Hurdle. But you're in a new build home, and it's utopian.
And they did it once. If they would have done it more times, it would have been a huge hit.
Yeah. You know what? That's so interesting you say that. Now that you've left and you've come back, I don't think we've ever even landed on that. But you're right. I mean, we waited for 7 years for the city to come up with something, and we were trying to drive it. We were literally pushing the button saying we need more housing because we were aging out of our apartments.
Yeah, we wanted a house.
And we wanted to stay. I wanted to stay in the city.
Right.
I've only just about a year ago bought outside of the city. So almost 8 years.
Right.
I've been down there. But dude, you nailed it on the head. Our generation drove that momentum back. Oh man, if they could have only just kept us there, it would have been fine.
Yeah. Well, look, I think now, and that's really why we wanted to create this platform with this podcast, is I think now is a time for some real strong advocacy. There's a lot of really high stakes conversations happening right now, in particular in the city of Buffalo, to the point you brought up, with 6,000 vacant lots that are going to hit the market. The conversations are already starting with the Common Council wanting to have their stranglehold on how developers could take advantage of acquiring those properties, how many properties they can acquire, what they can do with them. I mean, the bureaucratic red tape is already starting to get wound around that initiative. And to your point, I think now is a time for some real strong advocacy for creating incentive for individuals that know what to do with these properties to get their hands on them, to revitalize these properties the right way, and then take the lens back another step. Look at the aging housing stock in the city of Buffalo.
It's not gonna last.
The property that I own on Norwalk, the double I own in North Buffalo, it's over 100 years old.
Yeah.
Right. And as somebody that I bought right, the deal pencils out. I'm able to give my tenants affordable rent.
And maintain the property.
That was exactly where I was going to go. What about all these people that are not doing that? And then now with the economics changing, they're not going to be able to do it affordably.
Well, you know what? And that's exactly that. That is the shift that's not happening, right?
Right.
An older couple on a fixed income that now has a roof that's 40 years old and they have to replace. They don't have 20 grand.
Yeah.
But you know who does? The young couple who wants to get back into that neighborhood, right? Maybe they want the duplex. Maybe as part of their financing, as part of the transaction, they can replace that roof. But here's the problem. That elderly couple has no option to stay in the city.
Right.
And they don't want to leave.
Yeah.
If you're there that long, you're committed to the city.
Right.
And there's nowhere for you to go. So I'll say to the council a lot of time, start with your main corridors, add higher density right around your main corridors to support some commercial. And then as you move further away from that, reduce your density, okay? Just so you can get down to apartments, townhome, single family. It's that simple.
Yeah.
And it would be, like you said, utopian. It would be easy to construct. It would drive momentum. It would keep things affordable, attainable, I should say, for the majority of the people. And if you were able to basically do this blanket overlay approval, you need the momentum. You can't. What bothers me about Buffalo is we are a series of islands, right?
Yeah.
You have, Canal Side. Okay, but you can't walk from Canal Side to Larkinville.
Right.
We have Elmwood, but you can't even go from Elmwood to Hurdle.
Yeah.
We have these islands where we get these, brief sparks of development, but
They don't feed each other.
They don't feed each other.
Yeah.
You know, they actually only draw from each other.
100%.
You know, so again, while we have a population that's leaving the city, okay, well, now we have like 4 or 5 different areas that are competing with each other.
Yeah.
That doesn't increase rent.
No.
There's no comprehensive plan that allows those, you know, different elements and different projects, you know, to build off each other.
Yeah.
You know, and the one thing I will say, because I know we're, you know, kind of throwing some shade on the city, but one thing that did really, I think, work, and I think, you know, maybe we can get back to, we did a historic tax credit deal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And when historic tax credits first started, they had to be much larger projects because the cost to paper it was a little bit too much. Then the city, and in conjunction with the state, you know, worked to basically make it more efficient where smaller projects worked. Okay, well, that was actually a very good program. I don't think that gets enough credit. You know, when we talk about all the redevelopment that was happening in those years, those were a lot of historic tax credit deals.
Yeah.
So sometimes these things do work.
Yeah.
And we take a look now, I don't think there's a lot of vacant buildings that are even, I don't want to say that are left. They're certainly left, but all the buildings that were able to be convertible. Able to be converted to residential units.
Yeah.
I think we did it. And we did it with that incentive.
And they
package,
never would have worked without it.
It would have never happened. So,
Yeah.
So I mean, again, like there are inklings of things that have worked over
Sure.
the years that drove this. But again, you're still talking about conventional multifamily, multi-tenanted buildings. That doesn't keep our generation.
No. And how do you
single-family
apply that
houses.
to single family homes or you know 1 to 4 family homes, right?
Well, but the, you know, when you go for a historic project, okay, yes, it does increase the cost because you have to make sure that you're doing it a certain way, but you get the support of the city. You get the support of the planning department. We are trying to take these buildings and rejuvenate them. Why don't they look at land the same way?
Yeah.
Why can't we take a look at a property and say, well, you know what? The city hasn't done anything with it for 60 years.
Right.
Why don't you let somebody else try?
Exactly.
Just let them try.
Well, and I think that's what's being lost is that the market will dictate. I mean, developers don't, you know, come in, buy a project and build what they want to build, right? They build what they believe the market wants, what the market will support.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think when it comes to, you have these developers that spend hundreds of thousands, if not, you know, call it $1 million on research and pro formas and analysis of, okay, if I buy this property, what's the highest and best use for it?
Right.
Yeah.
And then they go to, you know, a city planning board and they're hearing from, you know, someone on the board or someone in the neighborhood about their opinion. It's like they know what the market will support. They know what that neighborhood wants. And speaking of Will's point about how you kind of, you know, decondense real estate as you span out, there's a market for that. There are people who will pay to be in the apartment because they want to be closer.
Yeah.
There are people that are okay with townhomes, which is a little bit further, but get a little bit sense and maybe a chance of ownership.
Yeah.
And then there are people who will agree to be just slightly out there if they can get their own standalone home.
Right.
And there's plenty of development options for that all throughout the city of Buffalo. You know, again,
utilizing
Will's
the same
point,
infrastructure.
Yeah, utilizing the same, but also possibly connecting some of these islands and communities.
Right.
Just to, just to make it seem like to use your term, a utopian setup.
Yeah.
Where there aren't these, you know, these gaps, right?
Mm-hmm.
These gaps of development where you don't want to cross, you know, you don't want to walk, you know, 3 blocks down, you know, blighted neighborhoods to get to the next island.
Exactly.
And, you know, again, I just think that, you know, there are professionals, right? We've got a number of high-end professional developers in our city. They got to be trusted. They know what they're going to do. They're also not going to build something and spend all this money on something that's not going to work.
Right.
They know what will work. They know what people want. And, you know, again,
and I would even say most times too, they're pushing the envelope.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, everybody can make a vinyl bird box house work. Okay?
Yeah.
That's not what we're building though. You
Right.
know? And I understand that that's not even what would be approved, but that's not what is being, you know, that's not what's being proposed.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, good quality single family homes. You said your house is 100 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, at Severyn Development, we'll build you a house that will last 100 years.
Sure.
Think about that. Think about how much tax revenue that will generate.
Yeah.
After the house is done. Right now, nothing.
Yeah.
After the house is done, you got 100 years of run room.
Right.
And we can't get out of our own way.
Right. To the point of this Cleveland initiative, you know, you take 10% of that runway,
Yeah.
You create the incentive to get it up and running,
Correct.
and then boom, you're ratcheting up your tax base.
100%.
Well, and again, think about development in real estate creates the most jobs, I think, per industry.
Yeah.
It's not very systemized, right? It's not going to be very easily replaced by AI
Robots.
or robots. But like when you do a real estate project or a development, you're bringing in physical people all day, working all day, buying, having to buy coffee.
Yeah, they have to buy lunch.
Food
Right.
and lunch.
Right.
And then buying from, warehouses and distribution centers for material. There's nothing like real estate development that drives the economy. It provides too many jobs, too many opportunities, and then the result of all of that hard work is a rentable cash flowing unit.
Yeah.
Keeping someone there who has a disposable income that's going to spend money down the street.
And by the way, last thing I just want to say, when a brand new home is built on the street, everybody on that street that stayed, that took care of that neighborhood, they benefit.
Right.
It's that simple.
There's no question about it. Let's pivot really quick from what you're doing on the development side to now what you're doing in Cleveland to take these rental properties, work with the renters, and convert them into homeowners, because that's really what really gravitated me to getting you guys onto the show was the fact that you're doing really good business, but you're doing good by your renters and working to get them into a position where they can combat the affordability crisis that a lot of people in their mid 30s right now are basically looking at home ownership as a pipe dream.
We decided that when we started buying and keeping single family homes, we were going to create a way to sell those homes or help our tenants buy them from us, because I leased the first 100 homes that we bought and developed. So I met a lot of these tenants, and a lot of these tenants were coming to me saying, "Oh my God, I just want to stay in this house or stay in the school district. My old landlord, prices went up in Buffalo." So people were getting kicked out of their house and saying, "Hey, I'm sorry, I don't want your rent anymore. I'm going to sell it and make all this money," right? Appreciation. So people were being displaced when the market went up. They were just so happy to find a single family home that they didn't want to move. They didn't want to displace their family again. Their kids have friends in the neighborhood, right? These people do want to make these rentals their long-term option. So, we came up with what we call rent today, own tomorrow. Okay, where we will, rent a house to a tenant, and every single month that they pay rent on time, we contribute 10% to a down payment for that house, right? That, in a sense, helps them realize, okay, well, I'm building, in a sense, some form of small equity in this home. If I do want to buy this house in the future, I know that the landlord will actually sell it to me.
Right.
At a fair pre-disclosed price that we give them, okay?
That's arranged at the outset of their lease agreement?
Yeah, so it's very important that when, we learned this early on, that generating, call it a rent to own or a lease option, those are kind of the standard terms in real estate.
Yeah.
The only way that it's fair and equitable for someone is that if you predetermine the price and you allow them to plan accordingly for that price, given the year that they plan to buy, right? So yes, we outline prices for years 1 through 5.
Yeah.
Obviously, they have to go up because everything goes up in price every single year.
Yeah, sure.
But let's say you're renting today and you believe that you can either build your credit, increase your income, pay down your student loans,
get
whatever,
a promotion.
whatever the timing,
whatever
the timing you need. Maybe you want to buy in year 3. Well, you can plan for that in year 3.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, what that did for us was it created a very nice relationship where we were renting the home to a tenant, and as soon as they wanted to buy it, they got it.
We know the price.
We know the price. We didn't have to, kick out a tenant, which is never fun. We didn't have to redevelop the home. We didn't have to put it on the market, clean it, stage it, pay a commission. We just simply let these people over time become approved, save up, and then we roll them into home ownership. And it's a big part of what we do now. It's what we want to continue to do. It's a business that we see. It just answers a lot of questions. It helps people. It answers a lot of questions to help people become homeowners through the process of renting. And for us, like I said, our business is not to own homes forever.
Yeah.
Right? We're just extending it in a sense of flip from 6 months to 3 to 4 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why we're here with Cross Country.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Cross Country has a great name in Cleveland. They're a well-recognized mortgage provider. We have about 300 tenants right now in Cleveland. that have been with us. They all, I would say, joined our our company, or joined, lived in one of our homes for the potential to one day buy it.
Yeah.
And now we're working across country to get them approved and actually start transacting homes in Cleveland to some of our very first tenants that we bought 3 or 4 years ago.
CCM Buffalo is excited to work with you. All right. Well, we're gonna play a little game. We're gonna go into a segment.
I see this wheel over here.
We're gonna do the Wheel of Buffalo. Right into the Wheel of Buffalo.
All right.
What'd you land on?
Local delusion.
Local delusion. What is one of Buffalo's real estate or civic delusions that people need to let go of?
All right. Easy enough. Not in my backyard. Completely get rid of that.
What explain what that means?
So that's a NIMBY, right? So not in my backyard is everybody that comes out. Unfortunately, extremely hypocritical. You already live in the neighborhood, and you don't want to allow somebody else to come into the neighborhood through the means of not allowing either future development or more homes.
Okay.
Give that up. Give that up. Welcome your neighbor. We're supposed to be the city of good neighbors.
Yeah.
All right, give that up. I would say not in my backyard. Let that be a thing in the past.
All right, Alex, give it a spin. Overrated spot. So what Buffalo area gets talked about like it's booming more than it actually is?
But unfortunately, I'm going to throw Larkinville under the bus.
Oh, shoot.
I know. I like what they did there.
Yeah.
I like.
Don't tell Howard Zemsky. I hope he's not listening.
He's not listening.
But it's an
Here's the
island.
thing.
But it's an island.
It is an island.
And they don't have, I mean, to the best of my knowledge, a ton of residential. I mean, there's some big
Office commercial.
but they didn't they just didn't keep it going.
Okay, so we're going to close it out with the last segment. It's called Sell Me Buffalo.
There you go.
All right, so I'm going to do 2 questions. One to Will first. So Will, you're going to sell me on this angle.
Okay.
Right? You're going to use this angle to sell me Buffalo.
All right.
And then you're going to sell me against Buffalo.
All right.
Sell me Buffalo as if I'm a young family looking to buy their first home.
Oh, I do that every day. All right. What I will say about that is we have a very strong community. Okay. So in terms of, safety, crime, but then also our school districts, walkability, we are still very safe of a community, and we are still a community. What I think, again, it does stifle new development, but I think why people have such an opinion about Buffalo is because they are fully committed. They've been committed. If you are here, it's because your family's here. It's because you chose to not only raise your family, but the generations ahead of you also decided to stay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are invested. If you want to join the community, okay, you're going to be surrounded by people that also value it, although it has its issues, which I know we'll talk about.
Sure.
Okay, but we really are the city of good neighbors.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to build a home here, it's safety, it's school district, it's still a real sense of community, because if you're from Buffalo and you stayed in Buffalo, you're proud of it.
Yeah. Alex, be the devil on my shoulder.
Now throw shade on that.
Okay.
Sell me away to Cleveland.
That was a pretty good answer. I'll give that one to you. And honestly, I do in a sense, agree with it. Do I miss home? Yes. I mean, Buffalo's home. I do like Buffalo. Going to a city like Cleveland, it is bigger. It does not feel as close. There are people obviously from other parts of the world, country, what have you, especially driven in from the Cleveland Clinic, what have you. But there is not that direct sense of investment, of community. You definitely also could have convinced me on food. If I was going to sell Buffalo, I'd simply just say the food,
restaurants.
Yeah.
the food in the restaurant, because I miss that a lot.
There's no Wegmans.
But unfortunately, my rebuttal is very, very brass tacks. When you want to talk about bang for your buck, again, still good schools, good economic activity and opportunity. I mean, I'm going to say Cleveland's a great option, but other markets are another option. When I think about what, obviously being in acquisitions for single family homes, what I can acquire in Cleveland as opposed, per square foot,
Yeah.
on a regular single family brick home, compared to what I can now buy in Buffalo, based on the fact that it's really just a supply demand curve. We have limited supply, so our prices go up.
Yeah.
It's still just a better bang for your buck. In a lot of other places of the country, there are still, I do believe that Buffalo historically has been deemed quote unquote affordable. There are markets that are even more affordable.
Yeah.
And again, price per square foot, bang for your buck. It is better in another area, but the food sucks. All right.
Yep.
And there isn't as good of a community. That I will give you.
All right. So so light at the end of the tunnel, because we did have some, issues with what's going on, but you can't fix the community. We already have the right community. We can fix the brass tacks.
So, all right. Last Sell Me Buffalo.
Okay.
Sell Buffalo to a renter who wants to become a homeowner someday.
There's a program here that exists.
Yes. And we have a great mortgage provider at Cross Country to assist you in your approval.
It's like somebody wrote these questions in advance. Call Brother Anthony, my young brother Anthony.
Yes, exactly. We're going to prompt a number at the bottom of the video here.
Yeah.
But no. What I will say about that is rent as an entry level price point. Again, it is still more of what you say, is that affordable?
Yeah.
Okay, so it is affordable. Nice 2 bedrooms, nice options, multiple different areas to choose from.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And again, what I will say is we have a great community of home builders.
Yeah.
So you want to come here, you want to rent, and then you want to rent to own. Okay, obviously we talked a lot about our program if you want to stay in the home that you are. But let's say you're in an apartment, okay, and you want to move out and you want to own a home. We have a very strong community of home builders. I think that although there is red tape, compliance, and codes that we have to deal with, at the end of the day, I don't mind. I think it builds a much better product.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, and you can try to defend this, our style of construction, top notch compared to a lot of other areas in the country. So again, if you're going to come here, you will be able to find a nice place in a nice area, okay, to rent and settle. And then if you can't find, because our inventory is limited, if you can't find something existing, we have a great new build community.
Yeah.
And our bare minimum standard is already leagues ahead of what you'll find in other parts of the country. So
That's true.
Sell me away.
I'm going to drop this mic.
It's the first day on the
Yeah,
podcast.
I can't break the mic.
Don't break the mic.
I'm a renter. Sell me to Cleveland. I'm contemplating Buffalo versus Cleveland.
Well, honestly, Cleveland also has us. So we exist in Cleveland to help, tenants become homeowners. But, I guess it's hard to combat it because Cleveland is similar to Buffalo.
Yeah.
You do have entry-level homes. You do have the ability to rent at a number that if you could build it into your budget, you could eventually buy a home for a similar mortgage value.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a little tough to I guess, use Cleveland as an example. But I can say, we're big proponents of the Northeast, right? Midwest, Northeast markets. There are opportunities up here to turn, rental rates either into, through us, home ownership, but also they're low enough to where you should also be able to save for that home.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine renting in the Sun Belt, out west, California. How do you save? Right?
Yeah.
How one, those people never want to sell those homes, right?
Yeah.
Those homes in those Sun Belt areas, and they're owned by institutions that's what people complain about, that they'll buy them, they'll never sell them. And then when you're paying $4,000 a month, how are you saving for a different house?
Yeah,
right? So
exactly.
You're kind of trapped. So,
Yeah.
I could. That's a hard one to refute. I don't know if I can refute that one. But again, I'm going to speak to all of the whole Northeast. That holds true for the Northeast, some of the markets that we're used to occupying. There are options here to rent and then become a homeowner.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wouldn't want to travel past Nashville, Tennessee and attempt that. I don't think it's possible.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. All right. Well, you heard it here.
This was fun.
yeah.
Will and Alex Severyn Development. And, guys, I can't tell you how much it's been a pleasure having you on the show. That is Lock In Buffalo. Thank you for tuning in. Please like, please share, and please lock in to Buffalo.